begin the Board of Adjustments meeting for October 9th, 2019. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Norma Vasquez, unexcused absence. David Welty,
Present.
Robert Paulson,
Present.
Megan Marshall,
Here.
Dan Hartwig,
Here.
David Meisner,
Present.
We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman. All members in attendance will be voting members this evening.
Okay, we have a quorum. Has everyone looked over the minutes from the previous meetings?
Mr. Chairman, just as a reminder, not to interrupt you, but we do have need for two approvals separately, July 10th and September 11th of this year. If you could take those in order.
Yes.
Thanks, sir.
Do we have a motion to approve the minutes for July 10th?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 5 ayes. No.
All ayes?
All, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, on the September 11th minutes, I have a discrepancy. It shows unexcused absence for myself. I have an email that I sent to the clerk of the board stating that I would not be in attendance because I'd be out of town. And I would like to get those minutes corrected for the record.
Any other changes?
Any other changes anybody notice?
No.
Then you could accept a motion to take the minutes as revised.
Make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
As revised?
As
As
revised.
revised, yeah.
Need a second?
Second? All
I
in favor?
second.
Okay.
Aye.
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 All approved. So the minutes of September 11th will show one revision to Mr. Paulson being an excused absence, which was noted. Changes will be made by our clerk. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Okay, case number 19-00.6, 101 East Fifth Street.
Good evening. I'm Christopher Mills. I'm a principal planner with the Planning and Zoning Department. Let's get us here. Here we go. This first item is a request for a special exception to construct a 2,000 square foot accessory structure. This is the subject site located at 101 East Fifth Street between Eastern and Grape Avenues. This item was previously approved at the April 10th, 2019 meeting. There was a discrepancy in the staff report where the structure was described as both a 4,000 square foot structure and a 2,000 square foot structure. Their approval was for a 2,000 square foot structure, but the applicant had requested 4,000. So this item was brought back to the BOA on July 10th, where it was denied with a 2-2 vote. The applicant is now requesting approval for a 2,000 square foot accessory structure as previously approved. Now, this slide shows the block that contains the subject property. North is to your left. The black rectangle shows the approximate size and location of the proposed shed. It also shows the relation to the rest of the block. It's a little hard to see, but there is a 1,900 square foot accessory structure on lot 345. That's on the as you're looking at it, it's on the bottom just to the right of center. It's that accessory structure is kind of hidden in the trees right, to the left of where it says 345. Now, the R1B zoning district requires a lot to be at least 7,500 square feet. The subject site is approximately 33,000 square feet. This is significantly larger than what is typically found in the R1B. The maximum acreage allowed is 50%. no, I'm sorry, not acreage, coverage. The maximum coverage of the lot is 50%. You cannot cover more than 50% of the lot with your primary and accessory structures. What the applicant is proposing results in about 4,600 square feet of coverage or 14% coverage. Now, again, the fact that the construction of the proposed structure does not result in 50% lot coverage is not automatic grounds for approval, but it does speak to the amount of open space that's available on the subject site. The maximum height of the proposed accessory structure, regardless of size of any accessory structure, is 18 feet. The proposed shed meets the setback requirements. Staff feels that this request satisfies the 6 criteria of the LDC Section 3.4.2.D.2.E. There are multiple examples of similar sized structures in the area, both on the block and in the adjacent blocks. And after 3 mailings, staff has received no negative comments from the adjacent or nearby properties. So staff is recommending approval of BOA number 19-00.06. The applicant is here if you have any questions.
Does the chairman and the board wish to hear from the applicant?
Anybody have any questions for the applicant?
No.
No.
Any further questions or concerns?
I'll make a motion
Well,
to.
before you close the public hearing, call for a motion, I would recommend if the applicant wishes to make a statement or presentation, that he be given the opportunity, and then after the presentation, if any, from the applicant, that the chairman call for any public comment. And then after that gets resolved, and you've received the information from staff and/or the applicant or the public, then close the public hearing or meeting, and then you can discuss amongst the board to the extent you wish, and then move forward. That would be my recommendation to you. So just in order of priority, maybe ask whether the applicant wishes to come forward to make a presentation.
Would the applicant like to make a presentation?
Okay. And sir, just please identify yourself and your address for the board.
My
Thank
name
you.
is Eli Cordobes. I live in 101 East 5th Street. I just have a couple pictures, if you want.
You can use the overhead if you're able to
Oh,
do
I can
that.
pass it?
If you want to submit those to the board, they're going to become part of the file. You're going to relinquish control. If you want to do that, we can do that. That's fine.
And the letter that I received in the mail from, you just mentioned that you can put it in there if you want. Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
Mr. Cordovez, what are we looking at here?
Those are different structures that are in town. One of them is right behind my house, and that one, and the other one is in town.
Thank you.
Two of them is beside my house. And that's the letter that I received when I was applying for 4,000, that they make a mistake and did it for 2,000. And then,
Are you finished, sir?
Yeah.
Thank you. If I could, for members of the board, as you're receiving the information from the applicant, just to remind you, and Mr. Mills did a very good job of it, but just to remind you of what chronologically occurred with regard to this case. It was heard in April of this year by the applicant, and the board heard and approved the special exception request at that time for a 2,000 square foot accessory structure. So, and that's why you have a copy of the order, or maybe I think that's a copy of the recorded order from this board's action back in April, okay? What was discovered subsequent to the April hearing was that there had been some type of procedural notice requirement that was not satisfied, requiring that the case come back before the board. So the matter procedurally, it necessitated a review because of this procedural requirement. And so the case came back before the board to be heard on July the 10th, at which time the accessory structure was noted to be a 4,000 square foot structure, which had been at issue at the time, but there had been apparently, and Mr. Mills can speak to the actual error, as I understand it, but it was reflected as 2,000 square feet, but the application, when you did the math, was 4,000 square feet. Okay. So it came back before the board as a 4,000 square foot structure in July, which this board, if I recall correctly, did not approve. The final vote was 2-2. I believe it was a deadlock, which effectively works as a denial, because the requirement, as you know, to approve the exception is an affirmative vote of 3 members of this board. So a 2-2 vote meant that it failed. And so the applicant is essentially coming back. He has refiled the case, filed a new application fee, made a new application consistent with this board's ruling in April for a 2,000 square foot accessory structure. And so that's why it's before you again this evening in that capacity. I'll also mind you that, as you know, many cases before this board are variance cases. This is not a variance case. This is a special exception case. Now, in variance cases, as you probably know, many of you, if not all of you know, if a variance is denied, the sole remedy that the applicant has is to appeal it to the circuit court in Osceola County, or wait 12 months from this board's ruling to make another pitch, if you will, for seeking some type of variance relief, or alternatively, if there's been some type of undue hardship, some injustice that the board feels in reflection by a vote of 3 members of this board, the variance should be reconsidered. In that instance, per the Land Development Code, a variance can be reconsidered. There is no language in the Land Development Code speaking to special exceptions and precluding an applicant from coming back with a new application. So that's why it's before you here tonight. There's no need for an appeal. As required by the variance. There's no 12-month waiting period as required in a variance. This is a special exception. It's a new procedural animal, if you will, that the board sees, and you've seen several of these cases over the last several months. So that just is a bit of background on this particular case, because I can see the looks on your face. I'm inferring that there's a bit of bewilderment as to why you're seeing this back before you. Hopefully that has laid out a little bit more background. Okay? If there are no questions for the applicant, then I would suggest that the chairman call for any public comment.
I do have a question for the applicant. I do recall this case, and there were some concerns about the commercial business. Have you expressed other means for that, or is that still at that property?
My business has been there since 2004.
So it's still there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my office is in my house. I don't work in my house. My business is out. I'm an air conditioning guy, so I go to your house and fix your AC. I don't have anything in my house other than, my truck, and then I go services.
Okay. That was my only question.
Is there any questions from the public concerning this application,
Or any public comment.
or any public comment?
Hearing none then, unless the board has questions of staff or the applicant, then you can close the public hearing and
Any further
deliberate.
comments from staff? Do we have a motion to approve the special exception based on the 6 criteria?
I move to approve the special variance.
And the motion specifically agrees that the 6 criteria have been met?
Yes.
You've reviewed the packet? Okay.
Yes.
I hear a second.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Any opposed?
Aye.
So it passes 4-1.
4-1.
And for the
Approval.
record, it'll be 1, 3, and 5.
I'm sorry?
For the record, 1, 3, and 5 for my nay vote.
The factors that you felt were not
Yes.
satisfied?
Yes.
The factors 1, 3, and 5? Yes, thank you. Understood.
The special exception has been approved.
It's a 4-1 vote, so the application has been approved by special exceptions. Yes, sir. Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Mr. Chairman. This is for the next case. This is for the next case.
Case number 19-00.07, 816 Maryland Avenue. Special exception.
Good evening, again. I'm Christopher Mills, Principal Planner with Planning and Zoning. This item is a request for a special exception to construct a 1,872-square-foot accessory structure. This shows the subject site at 816 Maryland Avenue, which is on the northwest corner of the intersection of Maryland and 9th Street. Now, the subject site contains a single-family residence and 2 accessory structures. I apologize, it says 3. It's 2 is the actual number. The applicant wishes to demolish one structure and replace it with an 1,872-square-foot shed. The existing house has, and I was just told before this meeting that the house was remeasured and the property appraiser site has been updated. The existing house is, let's see, has a total footprint of 1,404 square feet. And what was the?
I think the footprint is still the 11,47.5, but the under roof for the floor space is the 14.
Regardless, the total lot coverage is 3,276 square feet, which is probably a little more than 20%, 22%-ish. The total lot coverage allowed is 50%. The subject site is a third of an acre. So this shows the existing garage to be demolished. The existing garage is in the center at the bottom. And there's also an existing aluminum shed just to the left of that. That aluminum shed is going to be moved to the what appears to be the top, the north end of the property in the middle. So this black rectangle on there represents the approximate size and location of the proposed structure. Staff feels that the request does not satisfy criteria 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6 of LDC section 3.4.2.D.2.E. While there are larger accessory structures in the general area, staff did not find any within the subject block or on any of the blocks that are directly adjacent. Staff is recommending denial of this item. The applicant is here, and the applicant has a presentation as well.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, William Milton Campbell, 816 Maryland Avenue.
The right arrow.
Why is that? That should have been the last slide. There we go. Yeah, this is backwards. This is backwards. Excuse me, I'll get to the first of it. As Mr. Mills says, that this is a pretty large presentation. I'll try to keep it short. Anybody have any questions for me first, or like me to proceed? Yes, sir.
Do you reside at 816 Maryland? Is
Yes,
that your home?
I do, yes, sir.
Primary residence?
Yes, sir. I also own the property behind it at 817 Virginia Avenue. I own that property also, which butts up to the 816 property. Yes, sir. Okay. This is my information here. I'm a lifelong resident of the city of St. Cloud, Osceola County and everything, born and raised here. And of course, my family is from this location and everything. So I spent 40 years in the fire service here, serving you, the public, and stuff like that, and that's probably about 2/3 of my life, all right? I've retired from the fire service, and I'm looking to enjoy my retirement, and this building is one of the things that I was wishing to do and everything. I've purchased a camper and everything that I go camping with, and that camper is a fairly large camper, and I wish to be able to store my camper in this shed, all right? That's one reason you'll see the height of it is a little bit higher than the 18-foot. The walls are 18 foot, I think it's 22 and a half foot to the peak of the roof, all right? But it's to accommodate my camper, which is the height of 13.6 is the roof height of it, so I need a 14-foot door. To have a 14-foot door, I need 18-foot walls, I believe. That's what I communicated with the builder and everything, so, all right? Of course, the narrative just is what I'm requesting is a 52 by 36 structure. And with that, again, that's to accommodate it. It's 44 foot long, so that's the reason the length of 52 foot. The 36 is just to add a little bit of accommodations to the side of it when the camper is inside the shed, all right? Again, the garage that I'm replacing is kind of dilapidated. It's falling apart and everything like that. And versus repairing it or whatever, I wanted to replace it. And of course, I would like to do it and accommodate my camper and everything, so. Just a legal description of it. All righty. Under the criteria there, how is the request consistent with the general pattern of the land development and zoning district? I feel that the special request is consistent with the general pattern of land development because there are other properties within the area. Now, staff kind of says of a, right around the block, over 800, what is the, I think the staff says that anyway, they look at an 8-block area, okay? I'm not in a homeowners association in that 8-block area. I'm in a city of St. Cloud. I'm a resident of the city of St. Cloud. If you want to break it down a little bit too, I'm in R2 zone, okay? So with that, there are many large structures in the R2 zoning area that beats this structure, okay? Or that are larger than the regular structures that are allowed over the 800 square foot, okay? So just to give you that idea that that's, and the staff denies that because of that 800, it's over the 800 square feet, and because of none of the properties right around my property has a house that large or a building or shed that size, so. This is one of the structures. This is 3 blocks, so 300 feet or 100 yards of a block or so. So pretty close to 300 yards away from my structure or my house, the location I want to put it. There's a detached structure right there that I believe is over 18 foot high and is probably larger than his house over the 800 square feet. So, and that's at 519 Maryland Avenue. Here's one at 503 Connecticut. Now, if you don't know if I have an overhead of that one, 503 Connecticut, the house or the resident in this thing would probably fit in a quarter or a third of that structure right there, okay? So it's much larger than the 800 square foot, much larger than his residential and structure and everything. Another garage behind this house at 521 Massachusetts that is a detached garage that is, again, it appears to be, I don't walk up in people's yard measuring them and everything, but it appears that it's over the 18 foot tall. Another structure that exceeds the 800 square foot, I'm sure here at 523 Wyoming. One at 212 6th Street, and these are within the vicinity of my house or whatever, if you want to say that. They might not be in that 8-block area, but they are close, okay? Number 2, how is the special exception use consistent with the trends in the development of the neighborhood and opposing being detrimental to the area or the neighborhood? I don't feel that it's going to be a detrimental to the area, neighborhood, or anything because it's just replacing another garage, all right? I'm not going to use it for any commercial use or anything of that nature. I'm basically using it for a residential purposes, just like I do my other garage to store stuff in, work out of, or whatever is necessary that I would do around my house on an everyday basis, okay? So there's no commercial intent in there or in the future, no commercial intent. You want to talk about something that's detrimental? What about the park that you put in our neighborhood? All right. Now, from my understanding that this park was put on there voluntarily. I know that the city or communities have to have so much areas of park per whether it's residence or square footage or square miles or whatever. But if my understanding, this park does not meet that. This park was willingly and voluntarily put in there because the city wanted to. This is across the street, right here. I'm standing where the garage would be if you allow me to build it, and that's me looking at the park. This park is substantial. It's a half a block size, all right? And this is on Virginia and 9th, and my house would be down on 9th Street on your left down here. I own both of the houses on 9th Street on the left. If you can see the cars that are there, I have more pictures showing you of the cars that are parked down 9th Street, okay? They park in my yard, they park in my neighbor's yard, and everything like that to visit this park. That's detrimental to the area, I think, okay? But anyhow, the city went ahead and built it because they wanted to, all right? Not because they needed to, but because they wanted to. I forgot to put number 3 in my PowerPoint. But the special exception requests the consistency of current patterns, being that the only replacing existing structure is planned for demolishment. Okay, the staff disagrees on that one also, again, because it's a larger structure, okay? I think that's the reason that the staff disagrees, because it is over the 800 square feet. It still meets the criteria of being offsets as far as setbacks and not exceeding the maximum coverage of my property or lot, okay? Let me get back to 4. Number 4, does a special exception reasonably affect the existing or traffic pattern or movements? Again, I don't think so, because I'm going to use it just like I would the garage that I have there now, okay? I might have some garage doors on that side, so yes, I might be moving some vehicles in and out of that garage door that I don't now, maybe in the garage, but it's not no more normal than what a regular garage would be used. Again, this is the 9th Street looking down towards Virginia Avenue. And this is again, vehicles parked on my property, okay, over to the right there. And of course, on the left is on the park side. You can see my camper, how high it is in the background there on the right-hand side. So that's parked at my Virginia house right now. Again, cars parked down there. And this is in front of closer to the front of my house, again, looking down in the traffic that comes down and back and forth on that road, trying to find a parking place for that park and everything like that. Again, it's very busy, especially on the weekends, afternoons, and holidays. And, of course, when school's out for hurricanes. It got pretty busy during that time, too. All right? So let's just see some of the traffic patterns that this has created, your park. But, again, mine's not going to be nowhere near that. All right? Number 5, special exception consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. I think that it will be consistent with the plan, because it's not unusual for any other medium-density property. There are other properties, like I showed you, in medium-density R2 zoning that are in the city. I'm not in a homeowners association in this 800 square foot or whatever not 800 square foot, but the 8-block radius that staff wants to portray me in, okay? I'm a city resident, so I feel that I should be considered a city resident and utilize that as a judgment, okay? The staff disagrees with that, just because that it is and the city has here, it says the medium-density residential land use designation envisions smaller lot sizes with denser development, all right? So I think the way I read that or interpret that, the city would rather see me tear my house down and put multiple units in there, okay? I don't know whether it's for tax-based purposes or what, but I'm not tearing my house down, okay? And I'm not going to do anything. All I want to do is to build a garage, all right? This is my home, my residence, and my garage will look very similar to that. It's going to have lap siding. It's going to have a blue roof or white sides. Whatever design that I want to paint my house, that's what I want my garage to look like, okay? So it's going to be pleasantly looking, okay, aesthetically looking for the residents or the public around and everything like that. So I feel that, you know, we're hoping that you will give me a special exception for that. Again, roof is blue, sides are lap siding. Might look a little bigger here. This is all I could do with an Excel spreadsheet. So I asked for a drawing of it from the manufacturer or the builder, but he gave me one that wasn't that well. So again, There's one that looks something similar. It's got the lap siding on it, kind of like, I don't think that's lap siding, but it is. It's kind of neutrally colored to the house and everything, so it's, all right. That's that structure there, okay, that I just showed you. That structure that I showed you before, that's the overhead, and you can see the house to that is very much smaller, okay, than the garage, all right? Well over the half or 800 square feet. This one, that's the overhead of that one. All right. Number 6, how is the special acceptance use development is being designed functional effectively for its intent purpose without creating a negative offset impact for adjoining parcels. Special exception will be consistent with the land development code because it is replacing, again, an existing structure that is dilapidated, looks terrible and everything like that, and I'm wanting to replace it with something new. It's going to make my property value go up. It's going to increase the tax base for the city because of the value of the structure that I'm putting in there, and I in turn believe that this will increase the property values of the parcels around me, okay? Whether it's across the street or catty corner from me, my property at 817 Virginia Avenue, it's going to cause the property values to go up in that area just because of the dollar value that's put into it, all right? That's kind of maybe what it would look like, something similar to that. I'm going to have a garage door on the end of it that I can put my camper in. Of course, it's got to be towards the peak. And then I'm going to have garage doors on the side. This building just happens to be turned around the wrong way in a sense that I'm going to be putting my garage, okay? My door would be on the other end, and the bay doors will be out towards 9th Street, so. This is the dilapidated garage that I was talking about. It looks like it's a little worn down. It is. If you don't believe me, I'll let you come try to open some of my doors on it and see how hard it is to open the doors on this thing, okay? So, just some pictures of it. Again, showing that it does need some major repairs and everything, or replacement, and I'm wishing to replace it. All right. Just a drawing of the, not a drawing, it's a survey, copy of the survey. And again, Mr. Mills showed you this picture here, that I'm trying to replace the existing garage here and put in the shed that we're talking about. This aluminum shed will then be moved to the north side of the property, of course, with the required offsets and everything on that too. The offset of this structure will be 5 foot off of the back of my property, okay, and that's off of my Virginia property line also. And it will be, I believe it's 15 foot off the property line, I think is the setback requirement for the road there. All right. Again, the building code 3.20.3 accessory structures for residential district, or point A and then point K, special exceptions approved by the Board of Adjustments. A detached or attached private garage may exceed 18 feet in height, but no larger than 35 feet. As measured from the ground to the highest point of the roof to allow the parking of a recreational vehicle or smaller vehicle. So again, that's my reasoning for the height of this vehicle, and of course to accommodate the size of my camper is the square footage reason. And there's my camper. Anybody want to go camping? No. There are some other structures around the city and stuff in the R2 zoning that do have large structures like this to accommodate campers. There's one, I believe this is over on Kentucky Avenue and around 3rd Street, okay? This one over here, I believe, is on like Delaware and 8th. And I've got a lot more pictures to see if you would like to, but of other structures around the city that have larger buildings, okay, over the 800 square foot that are detached and stuff, so. And I know that this is a problem for the city or whatever, but again, it's something that's been allowed. This one is attached, I believe, and if you disapprove my detached structure, I will build a attached structure. It just means my setbacks are off, but I will build the same size structure, and my roof limit is 25 feet. I believe that I can go to that height of 25 feet, all right, by building it attached to my structure. I just want to try to utilize a little bit more space in between my shed or garage and my house for porch area and activities and stuff like that, so. All right, any questions?
Yes. What kind of utilities will you have in that building? You'll have plumbing, electrical, and what size electrical service will you have?
Electrical service, I'll have a 220 service. That would, of course, accommodate my camper of 50 amps, so, and I plan on having probably an air compressor in it and stuff like that. So as far as plumbing and stuff like that, I was not intending on putting any type of other facilities or anything like that. I'll have water spigots to the outside, but no fixtures or anything on the inside.
Okay.
I do have a copy of the property appraiser's thing, if anybody would like to see that, as far as the increase of size of the structure that they've accommodated. I first come before the board once before, and they give me a wrong size, and I got to looking at it and investigating and went to the property appraisers, and they come out and take a look of it and says, okay, then I do have more floor space and stuff, and more under air conditioning, so.
Any questions for the applicant?
No.
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you toy with the idea of possibly cutting the size of this down? And you mentioned that the RV is parked on Virginia and maybe putting, because I'm not opposed to what you want to do, I get it. And I see the other RV covers out there.
Yes, ma'am.
But this is obviously far bigger. So would you, or have you toyed with the idea of doing maybe an RV coverage on one of your properties and then an accessory building on the other? Does it have to be one for you?
I'm planning on, I'm trying to do a little remodel on that house on my Virginia property for my daughter to move into. All right, so then when she kind of starts renting that property, I want to be able to maybe move my camper off of that property. As far as putting a structure there, as you've seen where it was parked and coming off of 9th Street, is very difficult maneuvering that vehicle into that spot. So if I was to put say, a cover, like you've seen in some of these pictures, I would be taking out the legs and stuff of that structure, trying to position that RV in there, just because I don't have the depth or the room to line it up straight to back it into it prior to backing it in, so.
Your Virginia lot's a little bit wider, though, than
Yes,
your
it is.
Maryland lot. So
It is.
have you thought about maybe something on the side of your Virginia lot and not behind?
No, I really haven't thought anything about it. I mean, like I say, I don't want to have to walk through my daughter's yard or whatever and, you know, to go to my garage or something or whatever. I understand what you're saying about putting something as far as that would hold the RV over there. That means that I would have to probably put some type of a hard pan down and everything like that. So cost effectively, I don't know, that might be a little more, it might be about the same, I'm not sure. I have not investigated that, so, to be honest with you.
Just asking, okay.
Any other comments
questions.
for the applicant? Public comment? We have Rebecca Scott and John Connolly.
Hi, my name's Rebecca Scott. I'm at 900 Maryland Avenue. If I was looking to buy a new home, one of the main criteria I'd have is the neighborhood attractive with well-maintained homes and plenty of trees? I like that St. Cloud isn't cookie-cutter houses and the streets are lined with trees. We ride our bikes and drive around. A lot of the homes are being painted and spruced up and renovated, and this is really crucial to our sense of well-being, happiness, and pride in our home and environment. Just because a few of these structures have been allowed to slip through some loopholes or whatever it is, doesn't mean that it should continue. More wrongs don't lead to what we would hope the city's vision for St. Cloud is about. And if the city isn't safeguarding our city, who is? It really makes us sad and stressful to think we're going to look out our windows or drive in and out facing this monstrosity of an industrial-looking shed. We put a lot of hard work, heart, and money into our house to make it attractive and to look like a place we want to come home to. We have a lot of windows, and now when we look out, we see windows and trees and other homes, and it adds so much to our lives. And this shed just doesn't seem right, attractive, or fair, and I don't see how it can increase our property value or have curb appeal. I don't want to look at it, so why would somebody else? If this is allowed, we're the most impacted as it's directly across the street in front of us, so we're looking at this 24/7. There's no overlooking a shed of this magnitude. It'll be as much a part of our lives as our own home. Is this going to dwarf this area? And if we ever wanted to sell this house, who would come here and think this is a good place to live? I don't see how this could meet all the criteria, but as he said, he's just going to build an extension to his house. So this is what we're looking at, and just like he mentioned, that place on 3rd and Kentucky, this is what we're talking about, and we think that it's really ugly. John wasn't able to be here, so I'm going to read what he had prepared. It was said that I could do that since he's not able to be here. The State Streets neighborhood is the oldest in St. Cloud and one full of character. I've experienced this neighborhood as a child in the early 50s and to current times renovating our home that my grandfather built nearly 70 years ago. The State Street character, in my opinion, is defined by its abundance of old Florida-style frame homes that are surrounded and embraced by stately oaks, maples, and pines. The State Streets have no HOA, so they rely solely on the board to protect its character and soul, if you will. A structure like this has a corrosive effect not only on its immediate neighbors like us, but as a dangerous precedent that will allow more of these massive industrial structures to populate the State Street area, eroding away the very nature and character of the neighborhood. This exemption is a demolition of any norms and the size of the auxiliary structures. And he went through all his particulars, so I won't go into that. But we're going to be looking at these mass 4 doors or 3 doors with minimal street setback. When things go up, trees come down and no landscaping is added, and it sterilizes the affected area. One of the criteria the board needs met that I believe violates the most is the trend of what's happening in the state streets or the state's area. The trend is the value young people see in these old homes and their tree-lined streets that lead us down to a beautiful lake. Dozens of these homes have been renovated and many more in the process. The submission is a street killer. Who would invest in a home with an eyesight of industrial-looking garage? Thank you.
Any other public comment?
I'm Raymond Campbell. I live at 801 Virginia Avenue. That's Caddy Corner. You let me build my garage, which is 4 bays, so I could put my race cars and stuff in there to protect them. He's wanting to put a building up to protect his camper. I see nothing wrong with that. He has a large investment he wants to protect. That's all he's wanting to do. And he's wanting to do it gracefully, I guess is the best word I can come up with. And I see no problem with it. Thank you. Oh, okay.
Any further comment?
Okay. Please be sure to fill out a form to deliver to the clerk after you've made your presentation before going. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, good evening. My name's Melissa Gardner.
I'm Edward Gardner.
We reside at 901 Maryland Avenue. We're neighbors with Terry and Bill. We actually agree with them. I believe that it would increase property values for him to tear down the dilapidated shed and build a brand-new one. I don't have any issues with it.
I don't have any issues with it.
I mean, like he did say, the park has brought in a lot of traffic. I mean, we did tell somebody that parked in your yard, he did ask if he could park in your yard, and we said, absolutely not. No, that's not where you park at to go to the park, somebody's yard. So there are some issues with the amount of traffic that's there, but I don't think that Bill and Terry's shed would increase that. It's already increased. So
We're okay with it. We think it'll add to the value of the neighborhood. So.
Okay, thank you.
And I don't think it would be an eyesore. We have a shop that's 1,000 square foot, and it's pretty comparable to the size of our home. And we enjoy it very much, you know? So
Okay.
that's all we had to say.
Please fill out a card. Thank
Yes,
you very
sir.
much.
Thank you.
Any further comment from the public?
May I say something again, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. John and Becky, they've opposed to this property or this project and everything that I'm doing. And they was in deep opposal of the park that was going in there until they found out that if the park didn't go in there, that it was possibly going to be apartments, all right? So they was opposing that and everything. So I don't know if they just don't want anything in there, if they don't like anything or what. I don't know if my PowerPoint would still be up. Yep, this is their house, okay? And they planted trees in front of their house, okay? My understanding is to where they don't have to see the other houses around them, all right? So if they was wanting to look at the neighborhood, why did they put trees in front of their windows, all right? This is the front of their house, and this is the side of their house, and they put these very large palm trees in there where they look out the windows. They don't have to see, I thought, my dilapidated garage and stuff, or my house or whatever. And I do have some stuff around my house they consider junk. I consider treasures, okay? But this is gonna hide that for them or whatever. It's not a excessive amount of stuff that I have, but I do have some stuff, and it is out in the open a little bit, so. Thank you.
Would you like to
Mr. Chair, you just want to make sure you're going to confirm that there's no more public comment.
Any further comments from the public? Public comments closed. Any questions from,
I want to know if she had a rebuttal to what he said.
Actually, I will. I don't even know if any of this matters, but when it comes down to it, when that park was being built, we opposed it. We did everything we could in our power to keep as many trees there. And it wasn't because we didn't want anything going there. It was like, that's just so misrepresentative. You can take one thing out of context if you want, and I'm not going to get up and go, he said, she said, so I don't know where that's coming from. And as far as us planting trees, we like our privacy, we have a lot of windows. You can take anything you want from that, but I don't think that's a fair assessment of what he said. It is really nobody's business. We love trees. My husband has a partnership in a tree nursery. That's what we do. And if you come look on the other side of our property, which is quite large for the size of the house, it's completely covered with trees. So, I mean, to think that this is a personal vendetta is really ridiculous. And I don't even, that's what I have to say. Thank you for asking.
thank you. Any further comment?
Mr. Chairman, if there's no more public comment, you can close the public meeting, and then you can discuss amongst the board, and if you have additional questions for the applicant or for staff, you could reopen for those purposes. Otherwise, you just would deliberate until a motion is approved.
Any further discussion?
I have no discussion. I'm ready to make a motion.
Do we have a motion to,
Well, just, if there's a motion, then you just call, let the motion take place, unless there's discussion to be had.
I would
no
like,
further
can we, do we discuss privately or?
Well, no, you're going to discuss
Okay.
right on the
Microphone.
microphone.
Where's your,
You're going to discuss right on the microphone amongst the five of you in the public here in the sunshine. And then after the discussion has, if everybody's had their say amongst the five of you, whoever wishes to make a motion in whatever regard can then make a motion. And then if it reaches a second, then it's voted on, motions are voted on in the order that they're seconded. So if there's competing motions, the first motion that's seconded is the first one that's taken up.
yeah.
So this would be a good time for the discussion amongst the board now.
What was your main objection to the,
I haven't said anything.
oh,
Do you want to discuss certain items?
no, I thought there was something in particular that you were,
No, I was just ready to make a motion.
oh, okay. No, that's all. I just-
Oh, okay. Ready? Chairman, I would like to deny based on 1, 2, 3, and 5.
any further?
So the motion is for a denial of the application based on criteria 1, 2, 3, and 5 not being satisfied?
Correct.
Okay,
I second the motion.
seconded. So you call for a vote on that motion.
Okay, do
The
we-
motion would be, the motion is for a denial of the application based on the criteria not being met for items 1, 2, 3, and 5.
You have a motion for denial on,
So a vote of aye is in favor of a denial. A vote of nay is against the motion,
Okay.
and you would continue to deliberate, so.
A motion to deny,
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
nay.
Okay, so that motion, just to confirm, we had two board members voting to deny, I'm sorry, Mr. Meisner and Ms. Marshall, but Mr. Hartwick, Mr. Paulson, and Mr. Welty voted against the motion to deny, based on those criteria not being met. So that's where we are at this point in time.
So back to discussion, what are you guys feeling that, or seeing that is different through items 1, 2, 3, and 5? Because obviously the structure is rather large in size and over the 800 square feet and is not consistent. Is there something that maybe I'm missing?
I just feel he needs the luxury of having to protect his property. with the
I
size.
completely agree with you, but I think the applicant needs to explore different means.
I think it'd be an improvement to get rid of the dilapidated shed.
Absolutely, completely agree with you. The size is overbearing, and I agree with the city and the resident.
If I could, not to interject, but the focus on the discussion should be certainly the totality of the case.
Yeah.
But it is a special exception request, and so whichever direction the board's going to ultimately go, it's going to be guided by those 6 criteria. The Land Development Code, those 6 criteria. Now, as you see from your staff report, page 6 of 6, there's, your choices are to approve the application with conditions or safeguards, or to deny. Those are the 3 different directions that the board can take tonight. But whatever direction the board's going to take, the guide, the signpost is those 6 criteria, and whatever motion you're going to make, you need to specify whether or not those 6 criteria or all of them have been met.
May I suggest that if there is a motion to approve, that the motion to approve includes both the size of the accessory structure as well as the height? I mean, he mentioned several times that he's going over the 18 feet typically allowed for an accessory structure. The special exception does allow you to go over 18 feet. So if you do make a motion for approval, you would make a motion for the square footage as well as 23 feet in height.
That's a request from the city?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, again, can you just clarify for the board? So you're
Correct.
saying is if the board was going to make a motion that sets parameters other than what's been applied for, the city is seeking the parameters to be limited in height, did you say? Is that?
Well, to allow for
To allow for?
the applicant to build up to 23. He stated that it's, tonight, that the structure is 22 and a half feet. So I suggested that you allow, if you approve it, to allow him to go up to 23 feet, just for wiggle room.
Move to approve the special exemption with stipulations created by Mr. Miller after consideration of the 6 criteria.
So just let's be clear, just for the record then, Mr. Welty's moving to approve satisfying the 6 criteria with a condition, let's be specific, that the conditions that are suggested by Mr. Mills be accepted. Can you state specifically, Mr. Mills, what those conditions?
The approval is for both a 1,872 square foot accessory structure that is 23 feet in height.
Okay, is that the motion that you wish to forward, Mr. Welty?
Correct.
Okay. All right, there's a motion on the floor.
All right, second.
Okay. Okay, there's a second. And you would call for a vote, Mr. Paulson.
Can you restate the motion that we're going to be voting on, how it's actually?
I'll let Mr. Welty confirm. As I understand the motion was to approve the special exception that the 6 criteria have been met, but with the condition that the structure not exceed 1,872 square feet and the height be built
Whatever the
at.
stipulations of the city. is
Well,
what
I'm saying,
said.
I want you to understand, and the height be 23 feet or less. Is that right?
Yes.
Is that the motion,
That's
Mr.
my
Wells?
understanding.
That is correct.
No, but is that your motion, sir?
Yes.
Okay, that's the motion. Did you understand that, sir, Mr. Hartwick? Did you
Yeah.
understand? Okay. So we have a motion, and Mr. Paulson, you had seconded that motion, so
Yes.
it is now proper to take a vote on the motion as seconded. So, Mr. Chairman, you can call for a vote.
A vote on the approval of special exception.
Say all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Nay.
Nay.
Okay.
3 to
that-
2 approval.
That
Of the
passes
special
3 to,
exception.
the way the motion was passed, it was phrased as passes 3 to 2. Yes. Passes 3 to 2.
Okay.
Okay, so the city staff understands that what was passed is that it met the criteria, that the condition be that the structure be 1,872 square feet with a height of 23 feet. Correct, sir?
Yes.
Or
Yes,
less,
sir.
yes.
Or less? Yes, okay. Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Special exception has been passed.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Any new
Just
business?
an informational thing, I'm taking Ms. Light, I'm sorry. Next meeting for the board is scheduled to be November 13th at 6:30, provided there are agenda items to be heard, which there may or may not be. We are getting dangerously close to Thanksgiving, so I don't know that. I'm hearing from outside sources that there may not be anything on the agenda, but we'll see. We'll keep you posted, as they say.
Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn
I
the
second.
meeting.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
All in favor?
There you go.
Aye.
Okay.
Meeting adjourned.